Hello, love. Welcome home to Eden. It's time for some bedroom talk. I know a lot of you have been like, Eve, whatever happened to your love life focus on your love life show? Well, truth is, I took a long divergent tangent into the spiritual. You've noticed how many videos are about that. Basically, also, I have got to admit to you something that you may not believe. I have been mainly celibate for about 5 years. Yeah, so I felt like a hypocrite doing love life shows because really my love life wasn't going very well. I was attempting dating lots of times. But I was looking for true love, right? I was looking for true love. And that's a tall order. And I wasn't able to do sexuality without love. Like something just shifted where I couldn't do it anymore. I had tried many times to say, oh, it's fun, or love will come out of it later. Not. So now that I've found love, I feel like I can make some love life videos, going back to old topics, questions people had long ago, and feel like I have some experience going on in my own soul that resonates with those same questions that you had long ago. And I know I abandoned some of you. Zaroff Ra, I'm so happy if you're here. Um, and I am wanting to integrate spirituality with sexuality. You know that it's always been my thing. The root to the high chakra, the spiritual path of sexuality. And so if you look at Tantra, right, Tantric love, that everybody's talking about online, they'll put on their dating profiles, what do you want, Tantric lover? But it's really important to sort of understand for yourself, what does a tantric lover mean to you? What is spiritual sexuality in your book? In mine, it's kind of funny. Like, okay, we know there are these kind of high levels of ability where some men have mastered their ejaculation so that they can last and last forever, where they are in this, they're taking the woman on a journey into her soul through layers of fears, by being able to last so long. It's not just like an endless flow of physicality. It's a spiritual gift the man has, sort of like as a shaman sexual master, when he gets to that level, if he can stay heart connected, right? But that's a really high bar, and there's very few men on the planet who have mastered that or even want to, because the thought is, oh no, that means I won't get to have an orgasm. Like, you know, men who have mastered this, it doesn't mean they don't get an orgasm. I guess, in the end, they get a huge one, but a lot of them also will say that they have a different kind of orgasm going on, rolling up their spine. That's a whole different experience, right? So, within that, though, if you say, okay, that takes a while to master, a man can practice. Sometimes they say if he presses on the spot beneath his balls, he can feel the vein of the pulse and stop his flow. And that's a way to start with your lover if you want to begin that practice of being able to go for many hours. But if you're like me, like I kind of like to have a lower bar for my lovers. I don't want them to feel like epically pressured into something that is tantric mastery, right away. So what tantric love to me starts with is eye contact and kissing. And uh, uh, I once even had an 8-hour kiss when my best friend and I at the time entered a tantric kiss that was all energetic flow. Um, so the thing is, touch, eye contact, kissing is something everybody can do. Petting, it doesn't put pressure on um, genitalia, and it doesn't um, take on this flavor of, all this tantric sex moves and different positions, which are very fun and actually do touch different G spots on a woman. Um, but those many positions, and such from India, that can kind of get into games of, a kind of a big show going on, and it's not necessarily connected to love. So love is the main thing for me in the whole tantric Shakti lovemaking adventure. Are we entering into a love story? Because then this trust and this surrender is possible for a very, very deep, um, soulful, growthful, transformative experience of a, exciting pleasure, where pleasure, physical pleasure, isn't as much the point as it is soul pleasure. So here's an interesting thing, though. So you finally found the beloved. Okay, now let's help you, because I know how you're feeling. I'm feeling it too. You want to preserve this love with all your heart. You don't want to do what you did last time. You don't want to screw it all up with power struggles. Okay, but despite all your best wishes, here they come. And where do the power struggles show up first? It's usually around oral sex, okay? Let's just be open about it. Okay, so in the oral sex, um, um, power struggle, one person will often, it'll happen that one or the other person will be getting all of the blowjobs or the, pussy jobs. And whoever's the one receiving that is having fun, but they'll be like not wanting to do the other person, right? And this power struggle will come in, where the person who's not getting that might say, how come, don't you love me, or aren't you attracted to me, or, and then we come into this really interesting situation, okay, where there are these two different main types of character, basically lovers on the planet right now, where you have the people who've been trained basically by the internet, by cyber Barbie dolls and such. And we're not going to criticize it, okay? We're just going to, this is real, like pornography. And those porn lovers, those cyber lovers, they have no scent, they have no smell, they have no taste, and they have no emotions you have to deal with, right? And they're really easy to just focus on yourself and your fascination with that cute look that the cyber lover has, right? And nowadays, men can even make their own cyber lovers with the AI, their perfect ideal, and they can just be happy with that. Why have a woman? Well, because there's not love, and there's not real connection, and there's no real adventure. And so then you have the other people who maybe they're a little older, maybe they just grew up in a whole different culture, or they didn't have the money for all this internet stuff and games that they played, with eroticism for hours and hours while they were forming their sexual identity. And those people I kind of describe them as nature people, people who are connected to the earth. And they can be like, whereas the cyber people, they don't want smells. They want a lot of soap. They do not want to have to smell you. It turns them off. They're freaked out. It's too visceral. And the wild people, the nature people, are like, oh, I love the smell of sweat. I love the smell of musk. I don't want to take a shower. I like pubic hair. And they're really, really different sentiments, right? Okay. But then two people meet and they love each other and they're so deeply attracted to each other, but they're from the two opposite worlds, right? So what do? So you got these power struggles that come up. I just think it's so funny. I'm sorry, but it is pretty extreme, right? When people have these different proclivities of what they think is hot. Like one person thinks it's hot to be bald and shaved, and the man thinks him being shaving himself is the hottest thing, and the woman's like, yeah, but where's your masculine and fur, like the monster man or the wild man, But it can get really sad because for example, the cyber women, the pressure they put onto men is so heartbreaking, because a lot of cyber women will be like, ugh, you have to be circumcised. If you're not, go get circumcised. Like, they do not like intact men because that is just too organic for them. And even though we know now that a foreskin does not make a man dirty, it actually keeps him clean, it keeps him protected. And the main thing about it is that in men's foreskins is 70% of the pleasure receptors they're given by God for enjoying pleasure and sexuality. 70% is taken away when a foreskin is removed. And the women want this clean, sterile guy that looks a certain way, right? That is so invasive, right? It's so presumptive, right? But the point is, you're going to come upon this. You're going to come upon the two different peoples and their styles, and you're going to get heartbroken if you allow this to become a power dynamic where one or the other person thinks they are right and their way is the best way, and digs their heels in and says, you have to do it my way, or I'm just never going down on you, because I can't, but what we can do, okay, we can respect each other's boundaries, right? Without any pushing. You can say, okay, so that's not going to happen for now. Patience. But it's the universe too. What's very interesting is that we are actually, if we look within ourselves, we can see the reflection of our inner desires, our inner phobias, fears, needs, actually playing themselves out in our lives perfectly. Okay, so this may seem very, very esoteric in a kind of a rootsy little conversation we're in. But if you can imagine, instead of asking, give me what I want, how I say I want it, or you don't even like me. Okay, instead of saying that, okay, we don't want to ruin love with power struggles. It's so easy to do. One person says, but these are my needs and you don't care. And the other person says, well, you're pushing me and that's a deal breaker. And then the other person says, but now I can't even communicate to you and you're suffocating my, you're dismissing what matters to me. And the other person says, why do you have to have exactly what you say all the time? And it's totally ruined. Oh my God, already it's ruined. So let's go into a spiritual exercise here. What if you were to say, okay, first of all, I'm going to see what did happen. And I'm going to look into see if maybe what did happen in this incredible intimacy that I'm so lucky to be allowed into that realm with the beloved at all. Can I see what happened in terms of what my actual soul really desired and really needs, despite my protestations and my complaints? And then you might see interesting things. So the wild nature person might see, oh, actually, they try out, say, shaving their pubic hair, and they're like, whoa, I'm so beautiful in this new way. I've never seen myself. Wow, I turn me on. And suddenly they've been changed by the cyber person, right? And the cyber person decides, okay, they're saying that their clitoris is not involved enough. I don't want to go down. It's too much for me. I'm a cyber person. There can't be smells, tastes, or anything. I'm sorry. I feel sorry for the cyber people, but it's okay. They're great, awesome lovers too. And the cyber person says, but you know what? I have hands. I can massage that clitoris, and I don't have to engage in a way that overwhelms me by the wild feminine that I'm not ready for, with all my heart and soul, which is basically the wild man and the wild woman. To go into the surrender of that, they do need to really love each other, or else it's going to be kind of a nasty little fest. I shouldn't say that. Kind of just really carnal. And carnal, the carnal, not that the cyber people aren't into carnal, it's just that now you get into, well, what do I ask for? If I'm not allowed to just say, give me this and give me that. And I do need to share what's going on, what I'm missing and needing, or else I won't find my fulfillment. Try this. Try asking for joy. Just ask for joy and don't ask how it's going to happen. Because all you're wanting by having your needs met, as you say they have to be, is joy. And if you simply ask for joy, it will come in the most surprising ways, new ways, through your cyber or nature partner. And you will be, the journey of joy is so interesting. It literally opens you into a kind of a surrender, because you don't know where joy comes from. You cannot predict it. You get the thing you say you wanted and the joy is not there. You get the thing you didn't want and suddenly joy is there, and you don't know why. It's not an outer thing. It's an inner focus. And this will take you out of the power dynamic. I'm sure it will. Which is most essential. And it's difficult, I know, because as women, we can go whole lifetimes without our pleasure attended to. And how do I know this? Why do I sound so dogmatic about that as well? I hosted a workshop for what's called a daka. A daka is a man who pleasures women with his hands, not for money, but as a spiritual practice. So I had a daka friend who was pleasuring about 23 women on his circuit. And he also had his 2 women who were his, sacred sexual partners. And he agreed to do a workshop in my village for these a whole group of women who are all unhappy in their marriages because they felt sexually unfulfilled. Who were these people? Well, they were white people. They were pretty much middle of the road, professionals, having already born children, married. And the women were really, really tragically sad because they actually really loved their husbands, and they didn't have any other complaint, any other reason that they would want to leave the marriage. So I brought in this daka to teach the men how to pleasure the women and what would make them really happy. So the daka was really pretty much about the clitoris, right? And about the pleasure capacity of women for multi-orgasmic experiences if the man would put his full attention on her and provide an experience, a deep experience, where she could surrender and go on the journey of his soul in resonance with her subtle energy through simply her clitoris, not really any penetration, no kissing. Okay, just that's the way the daka stays a little bit separate from the woman. He doesn't have to join souls, and we do have to kind of understand that eye contact and it is a high bar, and kissing is it really, deep kissing really does come when you're soul connected on such a deep level that flow of the breath going back and forth, sharing prana, is coming from the heart, right? But unfortunately, these men took the workshop and they all learned what the daka shared with them. They went home, they pleasured their women. The women were through the moon. They were so happy. They were like, oh my God, our lives are going to be so different. Everything's wonderful now. Thank you so much. So then I checked in with them a couple months later. How's it going? And all the women were tragically depressed. They were heartbroken. And I was like, what happened? Well, every single man, once he learned what pleasured the woman, he did the thing for the workshop, but he literally didn't care to continue. He was like, I did that once. I don't want to keep doing that. Like, uh, so what? I'm busy, it takes too long. It's too much work. And that was so heartbreaking to these women. And I think for all the women now on the planet, the important thing is it's not okay to be silent when you know what you need. And it's not okay to ignore her needs when she tells you. But it's also not okay to pressure, insist, force, be didactically punishing of the man as if he's all men who've ever betrayed you, or the woman if it's reversed. So the important thing for everybody is to let go of holding on so tight, insisting that you know what's right and you know what's wrong and you know what you have to have. Let's just stick with a couple simple things. Okay, biology. We know that sexuality for men in general really helps them come into their hearts and do their life work because it's so healing, and sacred and sensual with the divine feminine, and that women really do need their clitoris engaged, not just penetration. This is just biology, so we can say that's okay and that's real, and we're all going to figure it out. But let's not say we know how to figure it out. Let's not say it's always like this or that. Let's say that you might get something you have never even dreamed of, so much more wonderful, and so different than what you thought, by engaging with what the other person is asking for, whether it's the eye contact or the touch or the kissing or the going down or the hands or the whatever it is. So we're also take it as an adventure into ourselves and to life, in terms of how far can we stretch? What can we do to come out of our politically correct didactic thing about feminism, or naturalness, or sinful cyber disconnect, or what can we do to just be like, this is the world we're in now. This is the relationship we've found, and gratefulness, gratefulness in the story. I hope that long journey with me on this topic helps you to flow, helps you to be honest, helps you to be real, and most important, to get out of that power dynamic, is that when you communicate, you do so from the heart, right? But that's easier said than done. If you can look into Marshall Rosenberg's nonviolent communication strategy, it will really help to understand that some words, like sometimes when people express their desires and their needs, what they're saying is, you betrayed me, you abandoned me, you were pushy, you were presumptive, you were entitled. And all of those are descriptions of the other person, right? And when we describe another person, we are harmful. That's the violence that starts an argument. Whereas if we simply say, I felt sad, I felt lonely, I felt, you can't say ignored, that's a description of them. I felt basically not as valuable. I felt less worthy than you after I did this and that, for you, and you didn't want to engage with me in the same way. I felt ugly in seeing your beauty and you didn't see mine. Now, those are just feelings, right? Those are feelings that no one can argue with your feelings, but you don't want to just leave it there in compassionate communication, nonviolent communication. You want to then say, but if we could try this, Give them an idea, give them a way out. This would really help me. And the other thing, though, is allowing for a request that is not a demand. So, in compassionate communication in the bedroom, no demands get to be made, because demands turn into really kind of a toxic forcing, right? Demands are entitled, um, and almost cruel to the heart, right? So a request is truly a request, and it's important, if you hear somebody's request, not to turn it into attacking them and saying you're demanding things, because if you're not open to people's requests, then you're shutting the door to all the intimacy that would flow from then on, right? So the next level is to do nothing, say nothing. So you don't go in to fix it, to do what they said you should do. You hold the space. You take the space to take in what they said and thank them for sharing. And don't presume you know the answer, or even that you necessarily have to do any of what they said, because as soon as they've said it and been heard, they're probably going to drop the whole thing and turn around to the opposite, because that's the way it is. Once we feel heard, that we hear ourselves talking, we hear our own bullshit, or our own limits, or our own fixations, and how pathetic they are in terms of the big story of us. If we think we're pre-wired, oh, I always had it this way, so now I always have to have it that way because I have no choice, and so that's all I am, is a pre-wired, pre-hypnotized robot, instead of taking the power in our hands, going, okay, I am wired a certain way, and which part of it do I like, and which part of it do I want to rewire a little bit? What would open my life to rewire myself into I know I'm rewiring myself into a belief in sort of ecstatic joy, where I've actually felt like my clitoris died. Like in those 5 years of like celibacy, it seemed to me like my clitoris just disappeared. Like it wasn't even there anymore. I couldn't find it. And if I found something similar to it down there, I'd be like, I don't feel a thing. This is not doing anything for me. So, but the thing is, the awakening of my body now, because of the feeling actual love for somebody, and the full tantric story totally happening way beyond my wildest dreams, is it's scary, really scary, and it's unfamiliar, very unfamiliar. It's like being in an all new wilderness, because who I am, it's nothing like who I used to be, and the compromises I've made in the past to be sexual without fully being in love, really, that's a different physical body you're in when you're not in love. When you enter in loveness, where your soul is in awe of this person, your body has a completely different electrical response to them. And so the last thing I'll say, this is a long video, is as you search for your beloved, or you search for the beloved in your partner you're already with, that you feel like you've kind of lost touch with, ask, instead of asking, please, please, God, make them love me, make me lovable, make me more beautiful so they'll love me, please, God, make me more desirable, blah, blah, blah. Just ask, please, divine, I want to be in love. Help me fall in love. Help me love, love, love with all my heart. Help me have the experience of actually getting to love the person I'm with all my heart. Right? And that is a different prayer. That's such a different intention. And it doesn't mean you're precluding mutuality. And you know now that because you love yourself, you're not going to do this with an abuser who only is a narcissist who just wants to be loved and won't love you back. Because you know you love yourself enough now that you would only be able to really fall in love with somebody who gets you, who responds to you, who enjoys you, who likes you, who wants to be a companion with you and co-create with you. Okay, so knowing all of that is your boundary. You're not going to do that thing of being with somebody incompatible who has none of your own interests and doesn't even like your body contact and is kind of repelled by you, but will do the bang bang sex thing and then be violently abusive emotionally, until they can tease you into the next octave of their manipulation. we do so many crazy things because we do crave this tantric connection so deeply. And I'm not saying this to just men. I had the problem myself in a relationship 5 years ago or so where I would put up with a ton of abuse for the sexuality that was so fulfilling in a certain new way I had never had. But I didn't have that your heart in your sexuality coming into it is going to change everything. And if your focus is on loving instead of being loved, you're going to have more fun, way more fun, because if somebody's loving you, it's so great, it's amazing. But if you're getting to love all day, that is ecstatic. That is heaven on earth. Okay, so much love to you, darling. May this help you some way or another. I really hope it does. Just get out of that power dynamic. Main thing to do is just ask for joy. Joy, 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 instead of specific events. Okay, much love, darling. Oh, get my book. It's called Eve's Eden, Her Pillars of Existence. It's on Amazon. It's under my pen name, So Eva, Sophia, and it's all true love stories of a goddess dancer. It's all about magic. If you believe in magic, you'll love this book. It's all about the goddess returning her to earth. And basically, it's about that divine feminine that we've lost. Because really, when you get into the bedroom, both people are having the same problem from different perspectives of the men having lost their inner feminine from not being allowed to be emotional and tactile, the women having lost touch with their own feminine because, it's too scary in a world that's so male-centric, and women afraid to admit what they need for a feminine body, So everybody's got the same problem. It's only one problem on earth. I am, you can hire me to be a speaker for your event on this divine feminist revolution, the sacred feminine returning, and how this this separation from her is the one problem that causes all problems on earth. I'm convinced. So let's celebrate trans people for having integrated all aspects that we all need to be whole. Okay, much love, darling.